You know, when I look around at all the entrepreneurs who are grinding it out, spending 70 to 80 hours per week growing their business, you have to ask yourself the question, at what cost? Hi, my name's Tim Uchuk, and in this podcast, we're going to be exploring the tools, tactics, and strategies for crushing it and scaling your business without making the ultimate sacrifice of your time and freedom. Hey, what's up guys? Tim Uchuk here, and I am just on my way to the office in the car, the office, aka the coffee shop, because we moved out onto the island, and my official office at home is in our unfinished basement, so we are in the process of getting all that lined up so I can actually get an official office here. As you know, we run our business remotely from Vancouver Island, and our headquarters are in Edmonton. So for now, I've got kind of a makeshift office, and every once in a while I do my work at, I've got a rotation of my favorite coffee shops here now. But I have a pocket of time and wanted to record a quick episode for you guys and get into a little bit of the story. And I talked about this in a post recently, the analogy of where the perfect week comes from. So for those of you that are familiar with my coaching program, it's called The Perfect Week. And it came about as a result. I'm going to give you a little bit of an origin story on where it came from, but it's all around. The perfect week is really a metaphor, and it's based on, you've heard the saying, today determines the tomorrows of our lives. And for me personally, in our business, I don't like New Year's resolutions. I don't like talking about goals and then doing nothing. For me, it's all about what are you going to do about it today. And like the worst form of waste, in my opinion, is talking about something and doing nothing. And where it comes from, this is where the origin story comes from. And I had posted an image just to kind of visualize what it is I'm talking about. But it goes back to when I used to row competitively. I rowed in an 8-man shell, so 8 guys, one in front of the other. And there's a coxswain, the guy that shouts orders and tells you and steers your boat, tells you where to go and all that kind of stuff. So I used to row competitively, and we would once a year we would row in the nationals, so the best of the best across North America. And leading up to this, there were 13 guys that were fighting for 8 spots, and I had to really bust my butt to make the 8, especially because I was a little bit smaller weight-wise than most of the guys that were fighting. And so for me, it really it like burned this awareness of daily progress. So the clock ticking, everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. And so for me, I've always wanted to make the most out of and make that time count, so that at the end of the day I could say I've moved the needle. And so the context of that was within training. Like if I can train smarter than the next guy we both have the same 24 hours a day, then over the long run I'm going to get ahead. And so the image was more of a metaphor for, if you think about a rowing race, I don't know if you've ever seen one, but all the boats are lined up, of course, and the typical distance is 2,000 meters. That's the distance they race in the Olympics. So I think it's I can't remember, it's 5 or 6 minutes long these races are. And you start out even and equal, but it's something that I'll never forget is, after, it doesn't take long before you get a front runner, and every single stroke, you can picture the oars entering the water. Every single stroke, you're going to see one boat is going to move ahead a foot, 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, and then eventually an entire boat length. And I just remember being in just the adrenaline of, you can see peripherally every stroke, who's moving ahead and who's staying behind and who's staying the same. And by the end of the race, you can see the guys that have, a better crew and, they have better form, all of that stuff. When it's clicking, they've got a boat length, 2 boat lengths by the end of the race. And so that's the metaphor of the perfect week. Is I think about each week, in your life and in your business, is like a stroke. It's like a rowing stroke. And to the extent that you can, we focused on, think about it in any sport, right? The guys who are, whether you're, Tom Brady, or your Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, they will never be too good to focus on the fundamentals. So they'll do, Kobe Bryant famously would get into the gym at 3-4 a.m. and just do the same shot over and over and over and over again and build that muscle memory. And so the perfect week is really that. If you think about, and we break down time into quarters, right? So a quarter, roughly 90 days. And let's say it's 12 weeks, every week being a stroke. Picture that rowing boat being a stroke. So how can you optimize that stroke every week so that relative to, and you could even be, I compete with myself. I compete with the worst version of myself. How can I get ahead each week? And so maybe it's from the previous week. How can I get that stroke a little bit better from my previous self last week? And so we focus on things like, growing, extending that not to-do list. Most entrepreneurs, myself included, I need guardrails because we will often get fixated on these $10 per hour activities that are not moving your boat further ahead. And so to the extent that you can either stop or eliminate this stuff or get it off your plate so that you can reallocate your time towards higher value activities. And those higher value activities are a higher quality stroke, meaning that by the end of the week, your boat is going to be, a foot further from your previous week pace, your previous week cadence. So that analogy I think is a useful one. Every week I think of that as a stroke. And did you move your boat forward relative to your pace last week? So you may have seen, I used to have a running watch that had you set your pace and you can see if you're ahead or behind, you're racing with yourself. So there, again, you can see, I'll link to it in this, the podcast notes, the image that I'm talking about, but think of every week as a stroke if you're a rowing boat. And then did you move the needle? Are you moving the needle? And focus on how can you just carve out and engineer and create that perfect week for yourself. So Monday morning, you know exactly what needs to be done. You know exactly what to focus on. Your team knows what needs to be done, what to focus on. It's all anchored to your bigger vision, mission, and your values. And you're just working at that. You're working at the fundamentals, your form, and just perfecting that week over week over week. With the knowledge that it's never going to be perfect, right? Progress over perfection. But we're just going to be working at that with the understanding that it's a marathon, not a sprint. It will never end. It's a game of continuous improvement. But just get better and better and better at that week, that perfect week, that perfect stroke of the oar, and just get better. And that's all it is. All you can do is aim to get better than your previous self, your previous version. So I hope that metaphor is useful. I love to, there's two things that I look at. One is time and one is progress. And one of them is, outside of your control. And one of those things is inside of your control. So progress, you can control. Time, you can't control. Everyone's got the same 24 hours in a day. So I hope that metaphor was useful. I have arrived at my destination, and I will talk to you guys soon. Hey, Tim Uchuk here, and real quick, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, if you could take a couple quick seconds to give it a rating, it would be very much appreciated. And secondly, if you're looking for more tools and strategies on how you can crush it in life and business, just head on over to bookwithtim.com, where I've put together a free case study which shows you how to unlock unprecedented freedom today by using the 2 power levers. Just head on over to bookwithtim.com. Until next time, wishing you success and freedom in your business. Cheers.